Yes, thank you very much for standing by. And this second series is the second series, which is the part two of uh, Dockerizing Jenkins. Okay, so the first part was setting up your EC2 instance and also getting your Docker and Docker Compose installed. So the next phase will be us creating the Jenkins user. All right, so let's start with that phase now. So I'm going to say user add Jenkins. All right, then I'm going to pass the password 1234 for my Jenkins. Let me just say 12 for my Jenkins server. Then pass WD Jenkins for Jenkins user. Then standard this. All right, so that's it. So what this command is doing is this first command, I am creating the user called Jenkins, and the second command, I am setting the password for the user. All right, so the password is 12 Jenkins user standard input. All right, so hit enter, changing password for the user Jenkins, and all authentication tokens successfully updated. Okay, so now let's check if we have our Jenkins user. Perfect, great. We have our Jenkins user. So I'm going to log in, switch user to that user, Jenkins. So I am in Jenkins home directory. Next thing I will do is I'm going to create a simple directory called Jenkins data. Jenkins data. All right, go into Jenkins data. All right, so Jenkins data is empty, pwd, that's it. So in this directory, I'm going to create a simple Docker Compose file. So I'm going to say Docker Compose.yaml. Right, so I will be using Docker Compose to spin up the Jenkins service, the container service for Jenkins. All right, because Docker Compose is so easy and very quick, very fast. So that's why I'll be using Docker Compose. So go into Docker Compose. So let's start writing the YAML file for our Jenkins service. So the version of Docker Compose is version 3. All right. So I'll define my service, and my service is going to be Jenkins. I'm spinning up Jenkins. Then after my service, then I will specify the service properties. All right. So I'll come down. So what's the container name of the container name will be, you can give it any name, Jenkins. Then still on the properties, image will be, all right, let's save this and come back. Let's search for Jenkins image. So if I say docker search Jenkins, I want to check for a proper Jenkins image to use, so I don't end up making mistake. The Docker daemon, blah blah blah. Okay, okay, okay. This is not root. It's not root. Sudo. Let's use the root account for now. Oh, sorry. No, apologies, please. Let's escape. So let me go into home Jenkins. That's okay. Jenkins data. I can run from there now. So Jenkins search. Sorry, Docker search Jenkins. So I'm going to search for all Jenkins images on Docker registry. So I have Jenkins, I have a lot of Jenkins images are there, but the one from the right image from Jenkins itself is Jenkins slash Jenkins. So this is the image name we will be using in our Docker compose.yaml file. So I'll go into the file, vim docker. So I'm going to use my image will be Jenkins slash Jenkins. Okay, then I want to define the ports. All right, so I'm going to use ports which my Jenkins will run on. So by default, Jenkins run on port 8080. So what this means is internally I'll be using port 8080. That is within the container. I'll be using port 8080. Then externally I'll also be using what? Port 8080. So once that is set, I'll also set volume for my Jenkins files. All right, because ordinarily if I spin up the container, I will not have access to those to the files, to the container files. So for me to have access to the container files on my local machine, I'm going to do what we call I'm going to create a volume and map that volume to a volume inside of the container. So what I will do, I will say volumes. Okay, so so volume. What we're doing here now is I'm going to create um a present working directory. Let me come back. Escape. If I do PWD, this is where I am. So far, this is my Jenkins data. Jenkins data. So instead of Jenkins data, I'm going to create one more directory called Jenkins home. Jenkins underscore home. All right. No, no, no. MKDR, please. Sorry. So I'm going to create one more directory called Jenkins underscore home. All right. So the Jenkins underscore home is going to have all the files. It's going to map all the files from inside of the container. So meaning that I will be seeing all the files running on the Jenkins container on this in this directory on my local machine. So let's go back to Docker Compose. Okay, so my PWD is going to specify up till Jenkins data. So my PWD is going to have home Jenkins data. That's the path. Then anything after that will be my Jenkins underscore home. So let's go back into the compose file. So slash Jenkins underscore home. So I am going to map this to a to directory that will be running on the container. That will be slash var with the same name Jenkins underscore home. That's all right. That's okay. So now after that, I need to create a network that my Jenkins service will use. All right. So I'll come over here. I'll say networks. So my network is, let me give it a name net. Then after that, I need to, this is service, this is network. The network name is net. All right. But I need to create this network as well. So I'll, in line with services, sorry, that's a typo there. It has to be services. So in line with services, I'm going to create networks. I'm going to use this parameter to create this network, right? So I will say net. All right, I think that's all. That's all. This will be the content of my Docker Compose file. So let's explain. So I will be using Docker Compose version 3. Then I'm creating services. So the first service I'm creating is Jenkins. And all of these are the properties of the Jenkins service. And container name will be Jenkins. Image I'm pulling from Jenkins. This is the image name. The port I'm going to use 8080. The volume I'm mapping my local volume with the volume on the container when it gets run. Then this. All right. So let's save and quit. All right. We have everything set. So the next thing we will do is to run Docker compose up. So since I am in the directory that has a file, the since I am in the directory that has the uh, Docker compose.yaml file, I'm going to use the option -d. Okay, so let's see. Let's run our service. So if I hit enter, the first thing it's going to do, because since we don't have the Jenkins image locally, it will first of all pull the images from Docker registry. So that's what it's doing now. It's pulling the images from Docker registry, and it created the network. Can you see? Creating network, Jenkins data network with default driver, blah 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 blah. Creating Jenkins is done. Okay. So now if I do Docker, let's start with Docker images. I would see that I have this already downloaded to my base machine. Then if I now do Docker PS to check the container, the services running, great, great. I expected this. Now, I expected this to happen. Now, Jenkins by default uses a UID of 1000. Jenkins, Jenkins by default uses a UID of 1000. 1000. And from if I check my etc pass WD, there is a user already that that is using that UID. So if I grep my pass WD, let me look for 100 asterisks. Now if you see, I have an EC2 user with the UID 1000 already, which is supposed to be for the Jenkins user. All right, for the Jenkins user. So we need to do some modification for this container to work. Because if you run docker ps minus a, you will see that my container is in exit status. All right, is is in a exit bad status. So if I also check docker logs, the container name, which is Jenkins, so I'll get more information. Wrong volume. Now see, it cannot write into this file because of wrong volume permission. So wrong volume permission meaning that um, this first thing first, this directory is not owned by Jenkins user. Look at now. This Jenkins home is not owned by Jenkins user. It's supposed to be owned by Jenkins user. That's one. Then two, the Jenkins user is not having the UID of 1000. So for we to change all of that, I'm going to go into this file, etc pass wd, and on EC2 user, I'm going to change this value to 1, change this value to 1 as well. Then on Jenkins, I'll change it to 0, then I will change it to 0. So what I'm doing, I'm pressing arrow on my keyboard to replace a value. So I have done that. But now look at the challenge we are going to get. So for changing this thing now, if I try to log in with that, try to change a user to Jenkins, Jenkins will lost its home. Jenkins have lost his home directory because I have changed the UID of the Jenkins user. All right. As it is now, Jenkins no longer have proper permission. The Jenkins no longer has proper permission to his home directory. That's what this thing means. Meaning that proper root now has what's it called, the permission to Jenkins home, which is not supposed to be like that. So the same thing is applicable to the EC2 user, user, EC2 user, the same thing. All these permission denied profile. These files are now owned by the root user, which by right is not supposed to be that way. Can you now see what's happening? Can you now see? On EC2 instance, Jenkins is here, EC2 is here. On Jenkins, EC2 is here, Jenkins is here. So for me to resolve this issue, I have to change the ownership on Jenkins home directory. So what I will do, I will say recursively slash home. Come on, baby. sorry, own Jenkins, common Jenkins, on home Jenkins. So everything under Jenkins should have the user Jenkins as well as the group Jenkins. Then I'll do the same thing for what's it called, the EC2 user as well. EC2 user, EC2 user on home EC2. Great. So now if I now switch user to Jenkins, you will see that Jenkins now has its home. Then if I now type ID, I want to check the UID of the Jenkins user. Jenkins user is now returning 1000. Okay? 1000. Great. 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 Now I think this should resolve our issue, but now we may need to restart the what's it called? The the we may need to restart we run the Docker Compose file service. So if I exit and Docker PS is not there yet, so let me remove it. Docker PS minus A. So this is what I will do. I will Docker rm. I'm killing this container entirely. I'm deleting the container entirely. So the container is gone. Okay. So while I'm here, I need to rerun the Docker Compose up command one more time. So I'll do Docker Compose up minus D. Okay. So let's see. Done. So let's see if that has actually worked. So if I do Docker PS, you can now see that our container is now running because we've been able to change the permission on our volume. This is our volume, Jenkins home. So if I open this Jenkins directory now, you will notice that all the files on the container is mapped already to this Jenkins home. So if I do an LL and check the content, you can see these are all the files that are also inside of the running container. So let's see how we can log into this running container and also compare these files. So from here, I can say Docker exec interactive, then the container name, then I need the bash terminal. That's it. So I now inside of the running container, Jenkins container. So if I check this directory, Jenkins home, I can see that the same number of files I have here is the same number of files I have on my local machine. So far, we've been able to spin up what's it called? Um, uh, we've been able to containerize our Jenkins, um, our Jenkins, okay, our Jenkins. So let's see how we can access the Jenkins on the URL, okay. Let's go back to our AWS instance. On our AWS instance, I have my Jenkins VM. So I'm going to use the public IP. Here's the public IP. I'll copy the public IP and I'll come to my browser and I'll hit it up there and column 8080. Mind you, this port is already open on my security group, on my firewall on AWS. So I'll hit enter. So once I hit enter, I'm going to have my Jenkins environment, guys. So this is my Jenkins environment. So I need this initial password. So how do I get this initial password? There are two ways. Let me exit from the running container. Okay, there are two ways. It's the first way is via Docker logs, then the container name Jenkins. So this will get me, here is the password. Jenkins initial setup is required, admin user blah blah blah. So this is the password. Then the second way is if I could okay, is through here, Jenkins home. I have the files already, so I'll go to secret then initial password. So I'll go to my Jenkins home. I'll do LL secret. Go to secret LL again. I have my initial password. So I'll just cut the content of my initial password, which is that, and this it. So this string is the same thing as this string. So those are the ways you can get your initial password. So let's get it and forge ahead. Copy that, come here, paste it, and click on what continue. All right, so this is the first phase of your setting up your Jenkins environment. So to install suggested plugins, click on install suggested plugins. Let's click that. Since it takes much time, I'll be pausing the video and come back when it is done. All right, well, welcome back to creating our first admin user. So that phase is gone. So let's create a simple user. Call the user admin. Give it the password 1234 1234. Full name is admin. Email address admin at yahoo.com. So that's all. So click on save and continue. Yes, this is fine. I want to use this URL. Save and finish. Start using Jenkins. So far, guys, so this is our Jenkins environment. As you can see, I with Docker, with containerization, I've been able to spin up my Jenkins environment, my Jenkins server within seconds, and you can always test anything you want to test out with these. And in the other way around, if you're short of resources, you can always quickly spin up your your instance via Docker, your server through Docker, and everything should be up and running. So this is one way. Docker is one cool way to save on resources. All right. So that's it. That's all we have on Dockerizing your Jenkins environment. So at the end of the day, since we are through. So we can just I'm through. So I want to stop these I want to stop the Jenkins service. So if you see, I have it running already. So if I want to stop it, I'll say Docker compose. So one word, please. Docker compose stop. It will stop the service, stopping Jenkins. So if I do Docker ps, my service is not there. All right. So if I want to bring it up one more time, I say Docker. Sorry, Docker compose starts. It's going to start up the service. So if I do Docker ps, the service is up and running. So if I don't want it again, I want to destroy it. I want to kill everything, spoil everything, because I'm done. So I'll just say Docker compose down. So down is going to kill, delete everything. So down is deleting, stopping everything and removing everything. So if I do Docker ps, even Docker ps minus a is all gone. It delete everything. All right. So if I still want to bring it up, so all I need to do is just to do Docker compose up and minus d, and my service should be up and running. So if I say Docker ps, my container is up and running. So that's it so far. So let me just kill everything and clean up everything. Docker compose down. So thank you very much, guys. If there's any question or doubt, please leave it at the comment section, and I will be very glad to respond to your queries. Thank you, and have a lovely evening.